All right, we're just a little past 7 o'clock. We're going to give it a minute or two, or maybe even 3, and we'll see if we can get some folks to join us here again on our call this evening. So bear with me, and we'll be back shortly. Boy, look what time it is. It's already 7:03. All righty, I guess we should kind of get rolling here. We got a couple of people on in here in the room with us, and we will start by saying good evening to everybody. Welcome to the South Carolina Cannabis Conversation. My name is Scott Weldon, the Executive Director of the South Carolina Chapter of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, lovingly known as NORML. Just went out of focus there for a second. I'd like to start our meeting with our disclaimer that all of our meetings are an environment of education and awareness and are not an open market for the sale, purchase, or distribution of cannabis. We do not encourage or condone illegal behavior of any kind. Let me go ahead and close that up, close up that other document, and do a real quick double check on our agenda for tonight, or at least the topic for tonight. I don't have a formalized agenda, but I have been getting contact. Oh, let me double check here real quick. Oh, I forgot my other part after the disclaimer. Welcome to everybody who's here in the room with us, join me in the meeting. Also, welcome to everybody who may be watching on our YouTube live stream. And also welcome anybody who's watching as a recording on YouTube later. Mentioning YouTube, I always like to point out that we do not monitor the comment section of the YouTube channel while we are live streaming. So if you do have any questions, comments, and or concerns, you can leave them down to the side wherever your comment section is, depending on your device. We will visit the YouTube channel after YouTube's done kind of rendering the live stream. Usually that takes about 24 to 48 hours. Yeah, it's more like 24. At that point, we will try and address your questions, comments, and or concerns. All righty, I think I remember that part now. Again, welcome tonight to the South Carolina Cannabis Conversation. Happens every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Actually, I want to make a real quick. Okay, I did post it. I saw on our discussion line on our Action Network link where folks RSVP and register for this call. Folks saying, oh, I signed in at 7 o'clock and I don't see anybody there. They never seem to be there. Well, I do get notifications in my email when people are signing in, and I've gotten them as early as 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And, 7 o'clock we're usually here. Different days, if I send out the message on a Tuesday, which I like to send out a reminder the day before, gives people a chance to kind of check their email. I don't expect people to be hovering over their email every second. So anyway, it is 7 o'clock. It is Eastern Time, depending on where you're joining us from. There, we got another joiner there. So anyway, hopefully that clarifies things a little bit. It is Wednesday night. It is 7 p.m. It is Eastern Time. I don't know. Ask me daylight savings time or not. I don't even know where we are with that. Whatever our current time is on Eastern Time, 7 o'clock here in South Carolina is what time our meetings are. So I do apologize if you're logging in at 7 o'clock from someplace else and we're not here. It might be a different time zone. So tonight's topic, we were talking a little bit about, and of course I didn't bring it up in front of me, how to start a regional chapter of NORML in your area of South Carolina. And the reason I kind of brought it up is because we've had some inquiries over the past couple of, off and on, through the past couple of months, I would say. Well, hasn't been a whole lot more than that since we really only officially became the South Carolina chapter this year. And matter of fact, with the powers that be, the government and stuff like that, we are still low country NORML till we do our next tax filing and have all of our documentation transferred over to South Carolina. But nix, that's technicality stuff. Anyway, I have had people contact me from time to time saying, well, how do I start a chapter? Or, is there a chapter in my area? Or, I'd like to lead a chapter or that kind of thing. And currently in South Carolina NORML is the only active chapter in the state that I am aware of. And I try and keep my eye out in case somebody has started something or whatever. And in most cases, they've contacted National, and National usually direct them to me before they do anything. Before we actually started changing over to, while we were still low country officially, there were some other chapters that had started, and they started on their own, unaffiliated with us. At the point where when we were asked by National to become the state affiliate, we were also asked to reach out to this other chapter. It was an upstate chapter, and they had already gone through the process to become their own independent South Carolina-based regional chapter. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, and how you could start a chapter, how chapters are started, and I guess I'm going to start by saying there's, in my opinion, an easy way and a hard way to do it, but again, it sort of depends on the people who want to found a chapter in their community, how they wish to proceed. I'm going to start with what I'm going to call the hard way. The hard way is to contact National, NORML, NormL, NORML.org, and inquire about becoming a chapter, and informing them that you would like to start your own standalone chapter in the state. um, at that point, you would have to um, gather up at least 4 people to be on the board. And those 4 people would all need to be members of both national and at some point your local chapter. To be a board member, you would submit, and also you would draft your bylaws. Normal National does have a template for you to use. You can kind of just plug in that information, draft up your bylaws, develop your chapter board. At that point, you would then file for your nonprofit status with the IRS. Normal National asks you to file as a 501c4. 501c4 gives you the ability to be a lot more active, politically active, than a 501c3. Also, you would then file with the South Carolina Secretary of State, the paperwork that you would need with them. And of course, then after that would be all. Oh, and I believe, I haven't checked it lately, but when we did it a 501c4 with the IRS, the filing fees for that are somewhere around, I want to say $650 or something like that to file to become a 501c4. I got some people dropping off. I don't know if they've got a bad connection or if I've got a bad connection, but anyway, at that point, you'll have to wait for the IRS to approve you. Now, mind you, you can operate as that 501c4 nonprofit, and I think you have, from the time you start operating till the time you are required to be filed with the IRS is about 17 months. And again, in there, you would file with the Secretary of State here in South Carolina. And then once you're approved by them as a nonprofit, you would also then have to do annual filings, open up a bank account, get yourself a mailing address for the organization. We use a P.O. box, so if nothing else, at least a P.O. box. And I think those are, and of course with the IRS, when you're submitting your application, you have to submit your bylaws, you have to submit your board member list. I believe that's also the same with the Secretary of State. So those are all important pieces of creating your own chapter if you wish to create a standalone chapter. And I think at that point, once you're approved by the IRS and the Secretary of State, you registered with them, you're pretty much good to go. Now, there is a big difference between a 501c3 and a 501c4. It took me a little bit of the hard way of learning this. When I first wanted to found a chapter, the chapter director at National apparently wasn't really clear on how the process should go. And they basically said, start a 501c3 or 501c4 nonprofit. So, the first one in line was C3. I applied to the IRS for a 501c3. Pretty late in the process because I had been running this for close to that 17-month period, or maybe a little bit less, but I knew I had that leeway in there. But then I started getting letters back from the IRS going, well, and with photocopies of things like our Facebook page and our website. Well, hold it, you're being politically active here. And I mean, now mind you, what they were showing me were not things like endorsing a candidate. We weren't doing any of that. I felt we were doing educational stuff. We were sharing links to how to contact your legislator on the subject, but we weren't being politically active. We were asking you to be politically active. I don't know. The IRS kind of viewed it differently. And even still, just recently, I went back and I looked at some of the rules of a 501c3 compared to a 501c4. And they seem to be pretty clear as like that endorsement of a candidate and or was part of it. And we weren't endorsing any candidates at the time. Now, mind you, the new way, or the new chapter directors had said, no. You start a 501c4. This gives you the ability to be politically active and more politically active. I mean, if you're a 501c3, you can have a little bit, less than 10% of your activity could be political. Whereas a 501c4, you've got a lot more leeway with that. So that's pretty much the steps for creating a chapter in your community of Normal in what I call the hard way or the standalone way. Now, what we're trying to do here in South Carolina, I believe, is follow what they have been doing in Virginia. Mind you, Virginia just, recently legalized marijuana, and even their governor moved it ahead before, of course, getting voted out of office. But they're illegal to smoke, I guess possess anyway. I'm not sure about how they're ruling as I was smoking in public. And I heard some weird stuff in the hurry to kind of legalize. They didn't address paraphernalia, and so there's still a lot of paraphernalia arrests going on. I may be mistaken on this, but this is kind of something I believe I've heard, and it just sounds so very counterintuitive. But yeah, the weed's now legal, but they find you with a roach clipper, a pipe, or a bong, or something like that. And the law didn't address that stuff. So anyway, let's move on to what we'll call, I guess, the easy way. The first couple of steps actually, before I get going on the easy way, let me just kind of open it up. Is there any questions and or comments on what I described on starting a chapter, standalone chapter, the hard way? I don't see any mics turning off to chat with me, so I'm guessing we're good. All righty. Let's go on to the easy way. And the reason I'm even, I guess, bringing some of it up is, like I said, we've been getting some inquiries from folks around the state. Since we've become officially the state chapter earlier in the year, I knew that this kind of stuff was going to be potentially coming in down the line, and we weren't sure exactly how to handle it for developing regional chapters. So we have done some discussion with National, and with our chapter director at National is also the executive director of Virginia Normal. So that's where we sort of decided to try and copy their formula at the moment for developing chapters around the state of Virginia, and how we think we may be able to do it here in South Carolina the easy way. This way does not require you to create bylaws and file with the IRS and the Secretary of State. It does start off very similarly, though, to we request that if you wish to start a chapter, gather up 4 people that are willing to be chapter leaders and or chapter administrators for the most part. And we do have an application out now recently put together. I think I fixed some of the copy and paste errors I had put in before about chapter leadership, and I'll share those shortly. 4 people that are interested in starting a chapter in your community. And when I say your community, I mean right now I've been getting some inquiries in the Columbia area, and I know some of our regular listeners are from the Columbia area or thereabouts. Also, I think it'd be ideal to have a chapter in the capital. So again, it would start out very similarly. It is finding 4 people that are willing to kind of guide the chapter in that community. Just like our board here at the state level, those four leaders, we would ask them to have their membership in both national and their annual membership dues paid for both national and their membership dues paid annually for South Carolina. Your chapter would, at that point, you become basically a leader of a regional chapter under our umbrella of our 501c4. What we're hoping to be able to do with that is to be able to supply that chapter starting off. I've been trying to think about this over the past week or so. Probably starting off simple, very much the way we kind of started here in Charleston. I started with a little 4-foot table. I got a 4-foot banner to put on the front of the 4-foot table that said, Low Country Normal. I think somehow or another I got a few bucks to get some of our brochures together. Spent some time on my little Photoshop and stuff, but building the brochure, and went out and hit the streets. I mean, I don't think I have it on our website anymore, but there was a picture of our first rally in 2017 here in Marion Square in Charleston, with our little 4-foot table and our little banner stretched on the front of it. And somebody, I think, donated a megaphone to us. So we had a little megaphone. We purchased some sign making stuff and made a couple of little signs. I think I got some big markers and some poster board at Walmart or something for a couple of bucks. And that's where it started. Mind you, our booth now isn't a whole lot fancier or well equipped. We do tend to, depending on the venue, set up our 10 by 10. Here in the hot South Carolina sun, you want some shade. Sometimes if there's a little bit of rain or drizzle, you want that extra protection. Even sometimes it's a little bit cool. We did eventually invest in a couple of sides for it to block a little bit of the breeze. And now we have two 4-foot tables instead of one. And we have 2 information racks that are filled with our fact sheets from Normal that you can find on the Normal website. And what we've done is printed those out. I must admit, the last event we were at, the docs that we have in there are a little bit older, and I know they've been updated on the website, so we'll probably have to be printing out some as we get out for some of our upcoming events. But and I forgot, we had a cash box because we had a little donation tin and we had to start keeping accounting. Switch back to the hard way. I think I mentioned having to start bank accounts and mailing addresses and stuff like that. So anyway, the easy way is you get those 4 people together. Our goal is to then accept the responsibility of putting on a monthly event in your community. Now, what we mean by a monthly event, it could be pretty much anything from, again, I've been standing out on the side of the road sometimes in the legal right of way next to a park or next to a busy intersection with a little 4-foot table. I was actually collecting signatures on petitions, but standing out the road with handmade signs and things like that. Or good example, although I have not heard back, some folks in Columbia requested that we look into possibly setting up a booth in a weekend vendor event called Soda City in Columbia, primarily local crafts, local products, local produce, but they do allow some nonprofits. I did message them or sent in our application. Let's see if I can go back and look at the date. earlier this week. Went out to them on Sunday evening, so hopefully they've seen it and will respond in not too long. I will have to follow up with that. And depending on whether we get approved of that or not, we will try our best to get up there with a booth and a table or two and a banner and a donation jar and a cash box. And again, when we're setting up our booth, we will have a lot of our other little merch with us. We'll have our t-shirts, we will have stickers, we will have buttons, we will have all kinds of stuff like that. Although, and I don't see Kristen on the call with us tonight, she's joined me at a couple of the events that we've been at. We've done the Pride Fest here a couple of years in a row in Charleston. They have not done one since the beginning of COVID. But my goal at those is to hand out our brochures to like everybody. And the reason I love to give these brochures, and you've probably heard me do this before, but I'm going to bring it up again. Inside the brochure, see how focused we can get here? Probably not. The top section of this is the Normal Foundation Freedom Card. The top section of this brochure tells you how to use the Freedom Card. The bottom section, if you see the little scissors there, you cut that out and you keep that with your ID in case you're ever stopped by law enforcement. Excuse me. And like I said, I don't think anybody here has ever been out with me at the vendors event. If Kristen was here with us, she'd tell you, I'm kind of obsessed about giving these to everybody. I want everybody to have one of these brochures. I want everybody to have the Freedom Card in their wallet. I want them not necessarily that just to have it. I want them to read it. I want them to understand it. I want them to utilize and exercise their civil rights granted to them under the Constitution of the United States. They are like muscles. If you don't exercise your rights, you can lose them. Now, exercise your rights, folks. Get yourself your Freedom Card. Be prepared. So the only real requirements then for once you get your 4-person leadership team for that community, I've started to develop a template for a web page for our satellite chapters. Basically, I'm trying to develop it so it would be, actually, I did have one in draft for Columbia right now. It says South Carolina Normal - Columbia chapter. And the leaders of that particular chapter would be added in onto those Facebook teams as basically as editors onto those pages, so that they could focus and direct some of their effort right into their community. We would, obviously mention it on our main page so that any of our Columbia type followers may go over and like and follow that page. This way it gives that group an opportunity to be able to discuss and to promote the events that they would put on monthly throughout the year, trying to promote South Carolina Normal and marijuana reform throughout the state. So let me just kind of go and see if I can find this quick. On our website, scnormal.org, under the volunteer page, it says get involved, and then drop down menu volunteer. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the share on this real quick. Okay, that should be sharing. I'm going to go back to our homepage. When you visit our site, you will come in through our homepage. Oh, and notice that 2022 memberships are now available. They make a great gift. Order them this week to have by Christmas. Go here. Sorry for the commercial. Get involved. Hit the little drop down arrow. I'm not sure how exactly that works on mobile devices. I'm on a desktop here. Scroll, come on down to the volunteer button, and that will go to our volunteer page. On the volunteer page, you'll notice at the top, there is a link for our volunteer form. And I'm going to apologize to anybody who might be on here who has ever filled out on our volunteer form. You may have probably not ever heard anything back from us. We've had about a dozen people sign up. But I'll explain this real quick. I'm not a good volunteer coordinator. We are looking for some leadership positions. Leadership positions available are the volunteer coordinator, event coordinator, and chapter leaders. Each kind of chapter would kind of be their own event coordinators per se for some of the local monthlies. But any of our larger events, we are looking for an event coordinator as well. We do have a little bit of a description here for the chapter leaders. Current normal and South Carolina normal memberships are required to be a chapter leader, or to lead a chapter South Carolina normal. SC normal chapter leaders are responsible for hosting a monthly event in their region, participating in the weekly normal chapter leaders conference calls, which we aren't running right now because we don't have any chapters, satellite chapters to link those conference calls to. Assisting in the promotion and production of South Carolina Cannabis Conference and Lobby Day, which, as you know, our Lobby Day is coming up February 9th this year. And this will be a press conference and Lobby Day. We were hoping to have a conference type trade show thing that was canceled in option for a Lobby Day. Also assisting in our fundraising and growing membership for South Carolina Normal, monitoring the local chapter's Facebook page, and they must adhere to South Carolina's professional code of professional conduct standards. You'll see here we do have a link for anybody who may be interested in becoming a chapter leader in their community. And again, our goal is 4 chapter leaders per community chapter. I've been sort of playing with a little list of some areas I'd love to see a chapter in. Columbia being one of them, obviously. And before I go, I'm going to copy this link here. Stop share. Find out what happened to my chat. All right, so there's that volunteer link if anybody wants to look at it. DJ Josh asks in the chat here, is there anything in the works for Columbia? And nothing formalized in the works for Columbia at the moment. I believe we've got at least 3 people in Columbia area that may be interested in forming a chapter there, becoming chapter leaders there. But I don't know that for certain. And that's kind of part of why this conversation is sort of promote it, talk about it, reach out, and let people know. Josh, I thought you may actually be interested in being one of those positions in Columbia. Now, I also just saw it pop up in the chat. Chris Squires. Chris is new to our chat. I don't believe I've met Chris before, or that we've seen him on before, but definitely be interested in meeting with you, talking with you a little bit more, and finding out your interest. As you go through the application, I must admit a couple of things that the application points out is we are looking for people in those communities that are kind of involved with us. And our involvement has been kind of limited with the COVID, so a lot of it has been our online Zoom meetings. But we're looking for folks that are also interested in participating in our lobby day and all that fun stuff. So absolutely, want to chat more with you, Chris, at some point moving forward, because I would love to see a chapter. As a matter of fact, I don't really need to share it. Just a Facebook page. Looks just like the other one. Okay, maybe I will. All right, I should be able to be seen in draft at the moment, or on share. You can see at the top here, it may say, or if you can see at the top here, it says this page isn't visible. You can publish it when you're ready for people to see it. It gives me a little button to click. And it is very similar to the look of our South Carolina normal page, except now it says -Columbia chapter. So we are in the process of going in, getting some of that information set up for Columbia chapter in anticipation of hopefully finding some folks that do want to do that. And go back and turn off that share again. All right. Now, our hope for these pages are not that they become what's the word I'm looking for? A place for posting memes and funnies and things. I mean, there's plenty of groups and plenty of pages and plenty of stuff in my mind for that kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, National kind of nixes groups under our pages, and for a while I thought I can find them kind of useful. You know, I mean, I was planning having like a volunteer page so that the volunteers could communicate with volunteers through a Facebook group. Actually, it's going to be a lot easier to do it through our Action Network and things like that, but that's a whole other story. And you'll notice on this, although at the top it says -Columbia chapter, all of the branding is going to be the same, working to reform marijuana laws, and the South Carolina normal logo. And I think somewhere down here, you'll see the website's going to be linked to our website. Again, to me, that's the easy way. You don't need to develop your own website, find a host for the website. You don't need to do all that kind of stuff that comes with starting a chapter from scratch for a standalone chapter. Again, my thought for these different regional normal pages, South Carolina normal pages, is going to be utilizing them mostly to promote activities in your specific area and discussions on how to, get other activities in your area. You'll notice on this one, if you click on the events tab, there's already an event there, because what we will do is we will tag each chapter as a co-sponsor or co-host to our events, whatever they may be. The Cannabis Conversation. Actually, I'm going to have to tag Lobby Day on this, so that it will very much echo our state page, but it will also give you the ability to communicate with users specifically, or more specifically in your area. We've got a bulk of our Facebook followers. I was looking at our insight data the other day, and a bulk of our followers right now are from the Charleston area. We founded here in the Charleston area. As Low Country, we weren't reaching out to the Midlands and the Upstate like we are now. And as we start getting our voices heard more and more, I'm anticipating that we are going to get a lot more folks throughout the state that want to participate in their areas. So let me go back and double check comments here. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to chime in. We have a question. Are there any York County chapters? And no, there are not. Currently, South Carolina Normal is the only chapter in the state. The Columbia chapter went defunct in 2018. It was just earlier this year we were put in contact with the Upstate chapter, based out of, I don't know if they're Greenville, up in the Upstate somewhere. And we talked to them about either, you know, they were standalone. They had already gone through the process and gotten their 501c4 in early, I want to say in like April of 2020. When I spoke to them in like, I'll call it April of 2021, maybe a little after, something like that. Um, they just didn't sound that enthusiastic to kind of keep going. And I was baffled because to me, I thought it was a lot of effort to go ahead and get that 501c4 nonprofit. It was a fair amount of dollars that we had to collect. So I don't know. I don't know what happened, but they went defunct in 2020. There was an Aiken chapter that tried to start up back in about 2017. And again, they never even finished their filing with the IRS. Myrtle Beach, I think I've seen 2 startups there recently try to start up, and again, neither of them completed their 501c filings. So that's been the challenge I find, and to be quite honest with you, I'm not a very well educated guy. If it weren't for finding our treasurer last year, I struggled every year to file that paperwork with the government, with the state, with the federal. And I'm not the guy to be able to do that stuff. I was begging constantly. I need somebody. Thankfully, we found somebody, the hemp accountant. I think he's under the hempaccountant.com. Has been our treasurer for just, I'm going to say a little over a year, maybe a bit more. He's gotten us basically on track where we needed to be with our last filings. And he'll be helping us through the process this year of officially getting our name changed with the government, with the IRS, and get our proper EIN number now assigned to South Carolina instead of Low Country, blah, 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 blah. So those are the hard parts. Those are the things that, matter of fact, I've put a lot of other events and things out of the planning realm because I just stressed so much on trying to get those filings done, and I knew I would struggle with it, and I always did. So thank you, Michael Knight, our accountant from our treasurer from the hemp accountant. He has saved us. So again, if any of you want to go ahead and file and start a standalone independent chapter in the state or in your region, you're welcome to do so. I find it very challenging. Otherwise, we're interested in, Josh sent his app in already. I believe I did receive one a couple of days ago. Let's see if we have somebody on the phone. No, I thought I saw somebody join us that had sent in an app. Chris is asking, what kind of events does Normal participate in? It's been a challenge sometimes. For the most part, I founded South Carolina or Low Country Normal in January of 2017. It took me probably a good year and a half to start letting some of the little markets allow me. Now, I was able to get to a couple of larger events. There was an event here in the Charleston area called what's the whole name of it? It was a polo match and a balloon event. So they'd have some balloons. You could go up on a tethered balloon ride. And I think even in the morning and the evening, they had like real live rides. And then they had horses and a polo match. And I don't know how the two went together, but this organization put those two things together, and they travel the country and they put on these events. And it's actually kind of entertaining because, I'm not originally from the South. And so one of the first times I went to these polo matches, it was a rather hoity-toity, and I got to see some of the fine couture, is that the right word, of South Carolina or of the southern states. A lot of the big hats and a lot of the summer wear for the the casually dressed, well dressed gentlemen. Um, I'm rather actually surprised how much long sleeve shirts were kind of in the guys' wardrobe. I don't know. Maybe it helps with staying cooler somehow. But and then again, the balloons were always very cool, especially when they were going either with the low sun behind them in the mornings and in the evenings. I didn't really see them in the mornings that often because usually I would get there a little after that to start to open our booth. But we were there for the evening balloon launch, and I always found that really cool. You see the flames going off and lighting up the balloons, and the sun shining behind them. All right, so that's a little ramble. We went and did those. I want to say 2 years, maybe 3 years. We started doing some. Well, we started, and our address is actually Folly Beach, South Carolina. So we were trying to find some local markets to go, and one of them, like the Soda City that we've applied to in Columbia, was the farmers market at Marion Square in downtown Charleston. Now, I don't know who operates Soda City. I'm believing that's a nonprofit and is not associated with with government, with the city. But the one here in Charleston was managed by, I want to say some like offshoot of the recreation department. And originally they told me, no, we couldn't have you here because if we allow you here, it would look like we support what your cause is. And I kind of was okay with it at first until I thought about it for a while. I'm like, hold it. You're the government. You can't censor me like that. And I think what sort of brought it up was then about a year or so later, maybe something like that, I saw that they had approved having the booth there for the Republican and the Democratic parties. I'm thinking, well, these are political. Do you support them both by allowing them there? So I contacted them back again and says, hey, you're not really allowed to violate my rights like that and say no. But then the pandemic hit, and now they've slowly reopened, and they've just kind of avoided me, and I think since they've reopened. But it's end of year, and they're going to get ready to, I think they're doing their holiday market segment, and basically they're going to do a whole new application starting January for the following year. So I'm going to be on their case, hot and heavy, to at least get, like Soda City, Marion Square has a nonprofit booth option that you can come to and, on a rotation. So again, I'm hoping to hear back from Soda City. Again, I don't think they are a government-based organization. We'll find out more. But yeah, Marion Square is one we kept getting shot down for. So although we have had permits to be at Marion Square on 420 for our 420 events, so we've done some rallies downtown Charleston at Marion Square. Also just been sort of randomly out on the corner sidewalk in that same location. It's a very busy location downtown Charleston. Although one of the challenges with Charleston, it's a big tourist area, so probably a large percent of the people that you're connecting with are not from the area. My wife and I were downtown last week, and I happen to have a pocket full of brochures in my back pocket and a pocket full of stickers in another pocket. And one of the young fellas that's trying to hand away the palm leaf flowers, and what they do is they try and give you one, and then they want $5 for it. Anyway, offered me me and the wife or whatever one of these palm flowers, and I'm like, don't want one of those, but here, have a sticker, legalize marijuana. And he kind of looked at me funny. But two other people walking down the street says, yeah, we agree. And I start to try and hand them brochures and stuff too. And they're like, oh, we're from out of state. We're from a legal state. I'm like, okay, well, but yeah, I get a lot of support from out of staters quite often when I'm out of those. We have had the opportunity to be at a couple of farmers market. There is a Folly farmers market, and then there was another variation of that Folly Beach farmers market. So we've been at both of those. There was another farm market kind of thing next island over from us, John's Island, and they happen to be on some sort of a school property, but I think it's a private religious school. And they went, we can't have you talking about marijuana on our private school, religious school property. So that was another one we got shot down at. So a lot of times, I mean, really, we've set up just public access on the side of the road. Now, there was a small group, they were trying to do, I think, a market at like a family property just off of Folly Road. And there may have been like 4 or 5 vendors total, including ourselves. So we'd set up our booth there. There was another spot, like I said, I'm on James Island, right along Folly Road's one of our biggest roads, and we get a lot of traffic come through there. So there's another property out there that was had been a restaurant for a while, but they went out of business. But they had this big lot, and I just went, "Hey, can I set up on the edge of your road in your lot and have people pull your lot and sign my petitions?" Because again, we were trying to get decrim petitions running at the time. So that was a long, rambling answer for you. Almost anywhere we can, depending on what the event is. I like the idea of doing things that are, what's the word I'm looking for? Family friendly, socially friendly, like these farm markets. Sometimes they're a challenge to get permission to be there, and the second side of that is there's cost involved many a time. I mean, some of the ones I've done were maybe $35 a week or $40 a week. And, you know, if you're there every now and again, you know, it's not too bad. But my goal was usually to try and come up with equal amount of donations that night that would have paid for the visit out. The assisted living places donating to normal. I don't know. I'm afraid if I walk into one of those, they're going to want to keep me. I'm getting that old. That's an interesting suggestion. I'll have to kind of keep that one in mind. Oh, goodness. Okay, let me see if I missed anything in chat here. I don't think so, but I've almost chatted our hour away. Any questions on starting a chapter in your community the easy way? Since we didn't have too many questions on the hard way, that's a pain in the ass way. Any on the easy way? Yeah, I could imagine going to the assisted living and like, for like you say, delivering equipment or something like that. And, ooh, grandma and grandpa are puffing up. But yeah, it probably is around more than we suspect. I mean, mind you talk about some of these folks, they're not a whole lot older than I am. And I always felt I missed the 60s by just, you know, a few years. I was just a little too young for that 60s. I was the 70s era kid. And it was probably, I don't know, I just always looked at the 60s rather romantically. Before I go too far, I want to answer just a question here. All right, for the moment, there is a link for our PDF version of the brochure. that's one nice one that you can kind of share inexpensively. Right behind me, let me see if I can grab this here. This 1.5 ton thing is about 250 brochures. I just got 4 boxes. We just got an order of 1,000 brochures in. We send out a brochure with every one of our memberships, with every one of our orders. If you're signing up for a membership in your community, especially if you're signing up because you are feeling like you got the urge to become a chapter leader in your community, let me know in the notes on your order and say, hey, I want some extra brochures. I want to pass them out in my community. If you have a rough idea how many you think you want, 20, 40, something like that, let me know. I try not to, I don't have a scale here, but starting to send, large quantities does get a little bit weighty. My goal, like I said, if we do get a booth set up or permission to set up a booth at Soda City, and we get some crew up there that want to lead a chapter in that area, I will be traveling there myself and bringing some supplies along and making sure. And again, once we get them into that community, we'll hopefully have those team leaders be able to help get them out into other areas of the community. I don't have a lot of them right now, but we do from time to time have a supply of brochure holders. Again, when we were starting off with Low Country here a few years back, I'd go to some local businesses and see if they would allow me to put a brochure holder in their shop. And then I had myself a little calendar where I would go back to all these places once a month, double check. Usually what I do is I count out like 24 of them into the brochure holder. I'd come back a month later, count out, see how many went and how many were still there. Fill it up if it needed filling up. But after a couple of months, you've hit everybody that's probably going to hit it in most locations. Pull it out, move it on to another location. So that's another thing that helps sort of drive awareness about our organization. And I haven't been doing it as much. I have this one here. I don't know if you can see it. I got a big magnet on the back because this is the one that goes in my truck. And when I get out of the truck, sometimes I just stick it back on the tailgate and have brochures just hanging off the back of my truck. Yeah, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Oh, we lost Shane here. Had to go for the night. We are almost 8 o'clock, I see. All right. Yes, it does take some money to do it. I mean, we've never made a lot of money as a nonprofit organization here. Most years we're around 2,000. I think this year we got a pretty nice donation from the Celtic Knot Pub earlier in the year. So we're probably, a whole $3,000 we brought in through donations and memberships and stuff this year. And I was just talking to my board the other day, or our board the other day. We've got a pretty good chunk in there to make sure that we can be well supplied on February 9th for our press conference and rally and lobby day at the Capitol. I'm already talking to the sign maker about getting the signs so that we're out there with a press conference. We can have a whole bunch of people with signs around, or hopefully a whole bunch of people with signs around. I should probably share that link with y'all real quick before going. Let's see if I can find it. Lobby day, lobby day, lobby day. We do have a few people signed up. I think we have myself and one other board member so far, and then a half a dozen of our supporters signed up. I'm starting to build a list of the different legislators that we'll try and be visiting that day and see if we can get scheduled appointments with them to meet with their constituents. So that's the goal, is as people sign up for a lobby day on February 9th. That is a Wednesday. It is the middle of the week. I'm hoping that puts us in a good position to be able to schedule with our legislators, and they'll all be there that day. And once I'm getting the people registered in, I'm basically going back, tracking who their legislators are, putting them on my list so that I can go ahead and start scheduling those appointments. My watch just clicked at 8 o'clock, folks. I'm going to end this now. I do want to thank you all for joining me tonight. We will be back here, as always, at noon p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget to follow our social media on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget, if you visit our website at scnormal.org, scroll all the way down to the bottom and sign up for our newsletter. That's it for me. I'm Scott Weldon with the South Carolina chapter of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. We will see